Now, how did you exactly hear about Death by Cheeseburger, and what exactly compelled you to want to be on it?
Sarge reached out and connected me. I didn't reach out. I didn't know about you guys until Sarge reached out and connected us.
Okay, good. That all of a sudden further confirms that I'm not famous nor worthy of notoriety. I'm totally okay with that. Okay, and for our listeners out there in Radio Land and on YouTube, who exactly are you and what do you do? Let's just start there. We'll be blunt about it.
My name is Kevin Goatee. I'm a comic in New York City for over 8 years. I've created a show on Amazon called Comics Watching Comics.
Okay.
Also, another show called Comics Watching Football, which hopefully comes to fruition as well. Also,
Okay.
voiceover artist, a multitude of nonsense. But those are the important ones.
Those are the important ones. Okay. Now, how long did it take you to come up with the concept of comics watching other comics? Because I've noticed online it does have like a decent sized following, and it does have a decent like social media presence and a decent media presence overall. So, how long did it take you to go ahead and put that one in there?
3 years, I would say. Started on YouTube, and then I got it on Amazon back in September. So it's been a real crazy journey, I guess.
Okay.
And I got lucky by seeing it on Amazon.
Now, were you like prior to all this, were you a stand-up comic, or did you just like write screenplay, or be a pitch
No,
man,
no,
or
no. Like I said, I've been a stand-up comic for 8 years.
8 years? Okay, eight
Yeah.
years. Now, what were your like? What compelled you to be a stand-up comic? Like, did you just wake up one day and be like, "I want to tell jokes," or how did that come about?
I work in corporate America still, and it just was grinding on me. Like, this is not the way to go through life. Is to be trying to uh, trying to fight my way up the corporate ladder, deal with all that bullshit. Getting fucked in the process. It's only a matter of time before you do get fucked in corporate America. And this point is
Right,
done
right.
for me. I'm gonna try and see if I can create my own escape hatch where I can, create something I like doing. I went to school for film and TV. I kind of lost my way when I graduated. My parents were like, all right, well now it's time to get a real job. So
Real job. Okay, yeah.
that's why I got forced into this world, and now here I am trying to fight my way out of it and make something happen.
Okay. All right. Sounds like you've hit you started on the bottom rung and worked your way up, especially. All right.
That's right, exactly right.
Right on. Okay, that's pretty impressive. Now, let's see. How did you grow up? Like, what led you like going to a corporate America job, like and whatnot, and everything else? Like, what was your upbringing like?
I would say, upper middle class, lower upper class, and just trying to make, been told, hey, you're the funny guy, class clown, all the same stuff that you hear from other comedians. So that's nothing,
Yeah, that seems to be a common
nothing
pattern.
really new. Yeah, and then it's just a matter of having the desire and forcing yourself to sit down and try and write material and get to your first open mic. I mean, that's how I got there.
Okay. Now, what were your like major comedic influences? Were there any major comedians out there who thought like it gave a strong impression to you that you wanted to be a comic or that inspired you to do comedy?
I would say I had a lot of comedic influences. I mean, Eddie Murphy Raw was one of my earliest specials that I watched. I mean, David Tell's my favorite. Rodney Dangerfield is a very close second.
Severely underrated too. Nobody realizes his greatness. I tell you.
Say that again?
Rodney Dangerfield's like one of the most like underrated comics of all time. Like what he did when he started comedy was pivotal in like making obscene comedy jokes and especially with the one-liners. And a lot of people overlook that all the time.
I don't know if he's underrated. I really think a lot of people dig him, but I mean, listen, he can't. No one should stop shouting at what greatness he's achieved and how important he's been in comedy. That's for sure.
Right, right.
That's just ongoing.
Understandable. Okay, so you had like a typical middle class upbringing and everything, and then major comedic influences. All right, that sounds on par for the course. Now, when you initially started doing comedy, did you ever bomb your routines, or did you ever make any errors on stage or anything like that?
Of course, who doesn't?
Like
Everybody
a lot of people usually say like your first couple years of doing open mics and like trying out your routines are pretty much bombing anyway and learning how not to bomb or learning how to bomb with grace. Would you go ahead and agree with that type of statement?
I would say, people bomb when they're veterans. I mean, I had two sets last night. They both went pretty well. And, but people bomb me. I bombed, I don't know, maybe a couple weeks ago or had a rough one. So things. It's not like once you're a newbie and you working up, you scrub all the stink out of your set, or it could be the show that night sucks, or the crowd sucks, or you're just in a bad mood and you suck. Mostly you suck. It's not because I hate blaming the crowd, but
Yeah.
it could be multiple reasons. But just because you're a more tenured comic doesn't mean you're immune to bombing. Not by any stretch of the imagination.
Okay. Now, what would you say is like the worst time you've been on stage and really bombed? Like, if you could set the scene for some of our listeners, like where were you at, and what type of club atmosphere, and that type of thing? Because a lot of people have those moments where they're just kind of like, "Oh shit, should I really continue this?" And then they give themselves a pep talk, or they either stop. So, like, have you ever had one of those gut check moments?
I have. I just can't remember a specific time where it's just like, well, maybe one, I guess. I would say is I had a gig close to my house, and some of my buddies, and the comics before me were just bad. I'm like, all right, I should be able to kill this. Nope, went on there and ate shit. The crowd was just not having me, not having it at all. I was just, again, floored. It was just that bad.
Just that bad. Okay.
Yeah, it's just, there's nothing stood out about it. I was playing a hit, my buddies were laughing, and then, they see some of the material here and there, but I was surprised. I thought, oh, shit, this would be relatively easy, nope, because everyone else was doing badly. I thought I'd do well, and I did not. Whoops.
Whoops. Okay.
That one that kind of stands out.
Yeah, I've noticed on stage, like, even when you think you have it in the bag and you think you're going to pull off a killer set, like, it could still go either way. And there's so many variables, like, with the crowd and then the atmosphere and the person the routine that came before you and the person who said that routine. And I noticed that there's a lot of contributing factors other than just being funny. Like, a lot of people who are comics are, like, the funniest person in their circle of friends. But sometimes that's not enough.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Now, are you a family man? Are you married, or what's life for you like right now, like in terms of like domestic
Yeah,
life?
I'm a married guy with a almost 3-year-old.
With an almost 3-year-old. Okay. All right. Now,
Thank you.
how is has being a comedian or like you having a general interest in comedy and doing all the things you do, has that helped you cope with life in, like, would you say, healthier ways, or has it helped you just like generally be able to handle life better at being a semi new father and a husband?
I think I got lost in your question. Would you mind repeating it?
Well, like comedy itself, like how is being a comedian, or like let me try to rephrase it in like a more layman's terms type thing, because I tend to get a little verbose and overly wordy. I get that, but how is being a comedian and having like your personality grounded in comedy? Like, has that helped you with being a new father, and has that helped you at all in your marriage? Like, has that helped you a little bit out in life, as far as like attitude and everything?
No, I don't think that helped in anything. I guess the only thing it really, the only sense it has is there's a goal. It's like I'm just trying to really make a shitload of money for my wife and kids.
Okay.
So I guess that would be the only thing driving. But I don't think there's anything that I've done in comedy. I've taken that skill set and applied it to being a dad or a husband.
Okay, right on, right on. At least you're honest about it. Some people get on the fence about that question, and they give mixed answers, and those are usually. Yeah, that's that's probably true too. All right, well, since you were talking about how you wanted to make a shitload of money for your family one day, and like I'm sure that's the goal for a lot of people when they start in like mainstream entertainment media. Like, if you could wake up tomorrow, right, and you had the perfect life, what would that perfect life entail?
Me hosting one or two of my shows I have created.
Okay.
And just, as well as, actually, three. I've got a game show I want to get out there as well.
Okay.
I want to make sure I'm doing it, just doing what I want to do, and that's hosting TV shows.
All right. No, I don't want to compromise your game show as far as intellectual property or your overall pitch. Are you able to elaborate on the game show right now, or is it still like in its inception and still being written about?
I'm not going to get specific, but I'll tell you, pretty much it's a movie, it's a game show that's very heavily movie involved.
Movie involved. Okay, very cool, very cool. Let's see here now. You also mentioned that you did comics watching football. What exactly is like the overall format of that? Because I think like when a lot of our listeners, because our listeners range between the ages of 24 and 39, and it's basically your average typical Midwestern male or female. So football is definitely going to be an interest for a lot of our listeners and a lot of our watchers on YouTube. Can you elaborate more on comics watching football?
Yeah, so basically this show is going to be me and several other comedians where we watch games, live games,
Okay.
and comment on them as if we were, doing play-by-play, but not do the play-by-play the X's and O's like Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. We're going to do stuff a little bit differently with, the comedian twist and other things that are involved. So it's just a different way of watching football. I mean, a lot of people complain about the broadcasters. Well, we're going to make it a lot more funny.
Okay.
And what the broadcasters do. If that's your thing, that's fine. That's not going to go away, but we're here to provide an alternative viewing method to that.
Very cool, very cool. And you've been doing comics watching other comics now for how many seasons altogether? Was it 7?
Well, it's called Comics Watching Comics, not Comics Watching Other Comics.
Oh, comics watching comics. Totally sorry about that. I just basically started watching this the last couple of days on Amazon, and like I saw some highlights in between work and preparing for all this birthday nonsense that I've been doing and everything else. So you have to forgive me on that. It's definitely on my to watch list and something.
Not a big deal.
Yeah.
Not a big deal.
Yeah, something I definitely want to continue watching. So you've been doing this for quite a while. Like, have you have any comics like gotten a decent like a career boost or like more mentions or a little bit more like being noticed publicly because they've been on the show?
Yeah, I would say people have been getting more gigs because of it for sure.
Okay.
Jason Cooper won season 1. Was on recently a show last summer called First Impressions, which was on the USA Network.
Nice.
The panelists have gotten. I would just say I wouldn't say anything, super high level, but it definitely has gotten a ton of comedians more work. Like, oh, I saw you at the show. You want to do my show, or you get booked out in a club somewhere. I've gotten a lot of those. Hey, thanks for that, man. I got this, that, and the other thing because they saw me on your show, kind of sort of thing. So.
Okay.
It has definitely helped out a ton of people.
Right on. Right on. Okay. Would you say like would you go ahead and define your social media presence for our listeners? Because usually in the middle of my interviews, it's good to just go ahead and get your information out there in case anybody wants to follow you for the last part of our interview together. So like if you want to give your Twitter or your Instagram or your Facebook, feel free to just throw it out there and basically just shameless self promotion.
At Kevin Goatee, KevingGoatee.com, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the same. Kevin Goatee.
Okay.
ComicsWatchingComics.com, Comics Watching Comics on Instagram and on Facebook. On Twitter, it's at Comics Watching, and you get seasons 1 through 5 on Amazon right now. Season 6 should be up very, very, very soon.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's where I'm going to shout out right now. It's pretty cool stuff we've got going on.
Okay, great. I always love giving people the ability to like shamelessly self promote, so I don't have to. And you're gonna be way more accurate than me and more enthusiastic than me anyway, because you have like that emotional connection to it. And I'm just learning about all these things because that's just how I go apparently with a busy week and whatnot. So I'm definitely glad I could help you out there. Now, have you done any writing or anything? Like, do you ever plan to write any books, or do you have anything out there in like written word form that people can read if they're ever curious about you as well, besides your social media accounts or anything?
Yeah, my website kevingoatee.com. I do a lot of movie reviews. Probably should put up my review of the Avengers Infinity War.
Right, that was a great movie.
I do that. I also do NFL picks for. I'm pretty good with NFL handicapping and betting. I was over 8% last year.
Jesus. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I had a really good run last year, and I also started incorporating my daughter on that. Where I bring my little 2-year-old daughter in there, and she's the cookie while I get my picks, and she says whatever the hell she wants to say while I give those picks.
Awesome. So you're.
On my Facebook, but yeah, those are some of the things. Like, am I writing a book right now? No.
Okay. Okay.
Would I? I don't know. Would I have a story to tell? Yes. Maybe when I break out of corporate America and make it into all the other areas I'm trying to get into, maybe.
Okay.
But nothing right now.
All right, we'll let you get inspirational right now and have a Vince Lombardi moment. If you were going to go ahead and give like an aspiring comedian advice, like because a lot of our listeners are aspiring comedians or people with an interest in going ahead and deviating from their normal routine and their normal everyday suck the life out of me job, like what inspiring words of wisdom would you just go ahead and throw out to somebody just starting out, like who wanted to do this full time and stuff like that, even if it's just the truth that like this shit is not easy or something, like what would you tell somebody just starting out? Yeah.
Don't quit your day job.
Don't quit your day job. Right on. Okay, at least you're keeping it real. That I appreciate.
Don't do that. I mean, get out there. Nobody. One of these guys who go, oh, I'm funny and run out there without a net to do it. No, don't do that. Have a plan. Have some form of money. Don't.
Have a safety net.
Take a job bullshit job or whatever where you can make somebody to live and eat, but it's not a glamorous business in the sense that you think of you walking out in a year or two you have a Netflix special. No, not at all. Do not think that. This is not a get rich quick kind of thing.
Okay.
Not for a second, and even for those who are making consistent money, I mean, some guys are making like 30, 40 grand a year who are consistently working. Is that a way to live? I sure as hell don't think so. So
Right on.
I would not run off to, and like I said, quit your day job unless you've got, do this on the side, get it going. You're really good. I mean, really good where you're getting a lot of paid gigs rolling in.
Okay.
Don't think you're just going to do it for a year or two and say, all right, I'm good enough. People start booking me, and then boom, quit all your jobs. No, don't do that. Don't be silly.
I appreciate how down to earth you are. That's awesome. All right, cool. So at least our listeners understand that like comedy is not a fantasy, and not to dwell on that. It's not a lot of people do things and they don't go ahead and have like a cushion to crash on, or they don't have any idea of what the long term is going to entail. And I definitely want people to understand that what you do isn't just like a thing. It's hard work, and it's sometimes like you're prone to setbacks and failures like everybody else. So that's where I was going with that for sure. All right.
Yeah, it's a crazy, it's a fool's journey a lot of the time. I mean, some of the best people still aren't even noticed, and even the best of the best aren't making that money. It's not really a meritocracy as it used to be.
Yeah. Okay.
So let's make sure your listeners know that as well.
Okay, absolutely. Now, let's hammer on pop culture for a minute. Let's see. Let people know Kevin Goody and like what the things you like to do. Like, if you're gonna watch a TV show, what are we watching right now? Go to. Right.
Billions. I love Billions is pretty good. I'm very big on. Well, actually, tonight is going to be the second season of Dying Up Here, which is a look at stand up in the '70s, based on the Comedy Store and Mitzi Shore. Pauly Shore's mom.
Yeah.
The run that just died like a few weeks ago. That's a really good show. I dig that. Crashing is also very good. I enjoy that. Breaking Bad is my all-time favorite show. That's for sure.
Right on.
I just finished season 2 of Narcos. That was pretty dope as well.
Okay.
That's I watch a lot of sports and stuff. Obviously, we do podcasts. I do a podcast, Sports Book Box Office podcast. So I'm on
You can plug your podcast on mine. I won't be offended here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, Sports Book Box Office podcast. We're on a little bit of a hiatus right now.
Okay.
Where
Okay.
we talk about films and sports. My buddy Jeff Paul and I. On a little bit of a hiatus right now. We're working on right now. I'm working on other stuff, but yeah, we'll get back to that in a minute. But yeah, no, it's pretty much sports. I mean, on films as well. So it's
Right on.
pretty much. I don't have like many TV shows. Like I said, with Billions, I'm Dying Up Here. Well, Crashing, that's on hiatus now, and I don't know, Survivor. I still watch Jeopardy.
Survivor's in like what? Its 40th season or something like that. Survivor's been around a long time.
It's also lost a little bit of some of the fast. Like the last 2 seasons have been kind of like,
Yeah.
not that great, but it's still watching my way.
I still try to check it out from time to time. All right. How about musical interests? Like, what's your playlist composed of?
I'm all over the joint. I'm sure as a lot of people say. I mean, I love old school rap. I love punk. I love house music, electronica. I mean, even classical I have on there as well. My favorite, I guess my top 2 bands of all time, Bad Religion and Nirvana.
Nirvana, awesome. All right, solid choice.
Yeah, and it sucks. I actually have to. My grandmother's birthday is actually going to be in Indiana in a few weeks.
Oh,
And,
okay.
It's during the only Misfits reunion tour, and it's in Jersey, like 10 minutes from my house.
Oh.
I have to go to his birthday. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
Oh man, I missed the reunion show for this. This could be great.
Yeah, that's tragedy in and of itself. What part of Indiana are you traveling to?
Jasper, an hour away from like Evansville.
Yeah, okay. Been to Jasper many times for car parts. Yeah,
What's
I've been to Jasper many times for car parts and whatnot. Yeah, you'll like Jasper. There's basically nothing there.
Good spot too. I know that.
Yeah, it's pretty remote. It's a little bit like Deliverance.
Yeah, no desire to go there. Believe me.
I completely understand, especially as an Indiana native. I totally get it. All right, let's see here. Let's go ahead and talk about some of your mainstream interests out there on the interwebs. What's your internet history look like? If you're gonna navigate around the web or whatnot, what are you doing in like an average web session, like social media, everything else? What are you doing on the internet?
Yeah, I don't know. That's too dirty for me.
That's too nerdy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all over the joint. I'm doing emails. I'm reaching out on LinkedIn to people to introduce myself for the show, trying to get people to buy on networks. I want to get comics, I want to do comics on a TV show, on the TV network or cable network.
Yeah.
That's the goal. I mean, Amazon's been great, but there's no money to be made with TV. That's for sure. So I'm doing that. I'm emailing. I'm on Facebook with everybody else. Fantasy baseball I do as well. So
Okay.
I'm all over the joint.
Who do you got in fantasy baseball? What's your fantasy baseball looking like?
Well, now we can talk serious shit here. I'm in a 10-man league head-to-head. Right now I'm up 35 points with the rest of the day left. And I would say, here you go. If you want to hear my whole lineup right now.
Bust it out.
Chris Sinetta is like, what's that say again?
Bust it out. Let's see it. Line up and all.
All right, here we go. This is not the order I draft. I'll tell you my first pick overall. I got at number 5 overall. I got Nolan Arenado, who continues to smoke.
Okay.
I got Chris Iannetta catching, Joey Votto, Brian Dozier, as Dougal Cabrera in the Mets, who's having a great year. Paul DeJong, Cardinals, also a great year. I just picked up Alan Hansen today as my middle infielder guy. Nolan Arenado is my corner infielder for today. J.D. Martinez, Yelich, Tommy Pham, who's out for tonight, unfortunately, started up shit. Justin Upton, David Peralta, and right now the DH for today is Howie Kendrick.
Nice.
I have Will Myers, Yohan Moncada on the CL, unfortunately. Then I got as my starters Alex Wood, Kyle Hendricks, Trevor Bauer, Sean Doolittle closer for the Nationals. Chase Anderson had a bad day today. Charlie Morton, Mike Clevenger had a fantastic day. Didn't get the no decision with the Yankees, and the Yankees won. That makes me the most happy. I can get that. Chad Bennett and Kyle Friedland is my lineup I have for this week. But yeah, my horses this year definitely Arenado, J.D. Martinez, Tommy Pham, Peralta, Bauer, Clevenger, Votto's been on fire of late. DeJong.
I've noticed. Okay.
Really kicking ass to me. So
Solid choices.
2-2 this year, and hopefully we would stay up by, like I said, 33.
Okay, so and you like to do a little bit of sports betting. Like what would what's some teams you're starting to bank on this year, in the betting world and everything. Like some of your bets you're laying over and everything. What's some of the teams that you've having the best luck with this year?
In baseball?
Yeah.
I don't really bet baseball. Baseball is still, I like betting football much better. The only bets I have in baseball this year are the Colorado Rockies over 81.5.
Mm-hmm.
And the Texas Rangers under 69.5.
Okay.
So I think the Colorado looks at the standings now. Colorado looking pretty good. They swept the Mets. Good. They killed 2 birds with 1 stone for me. Colorado 5 over 500, looking good. The Texas Rangers, they've won some of late, but they're 13-22, 9 under 500. Still bad, but I need to be worse.
Hey, it never hurts to have the Martha Stewart perspective and get a little inside information. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, they should be getting rid of what's his face, Cole Hamels on the Rangers very, very soon when they realize that they're going to go nowhere.
Okay.
So, we'll get rid of him. And hell, maybe trade the Yankees. We'll see if we can get a piece where it never hurts to have too much pitching.
Right on.
Pretty good, but we could always use another starter. That's for sure.
You gonna put your kid in little league when she gets a little bit older?
When she gets older, absolutely, I'll put her in little league.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I played baseball throughout my life. My wife played softball, so definitely within the family.
Yeah, you totally struck me as a little league type of father. I could totally see you cheering from the sidelines or the stands and being that father. That's pretty cool. Right on.
I'm afraid I might be that too much of a father.
Hey, at least you're honest about it. All right, let's finish up some of this here. What's your you got any thing you want to talk about when it comes to your political stance or anything like that? I'm not asking you to jeopardize yourself or anything like that.
It's just funny. I'm not gonna get too much into it. It's just very polarizing every side. I hate it when hypocrisy. And right now I think that the left at the moment on the right side still people. I think the left is just being a little bit more hypocritical.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of who's in office right now. But other than that, I really don't really get into politics.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I always generally ask because some people have a huge political platform that they want to represent, and other people are just kind of like, I'd rather not. And I'm like, I can totally understand. It's not a big deal. So
Yeah, that's why I give you very little on that.
it's totally fine with me. All right, now let's see. We'll ask. Well, I gotta keep a few really insane interview questions, just for the fun of it, to let you explore it a little bit here. If you were gonna direct your own porn movie, who would star in it, and what would be the plot?
Hey man, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Are you there?
Yeah, you went quiet after saying you had a few more funny questions, I guess, for me. What do you
Yeah,
have?
we're going with the funny questions. That's usually how I go ahead and end an interview for kicks.
Sure.
If you were going to direct a porn movie, who would star in it and how would the plot go?
Boy, if I was to direct a porn movie, who would I have starred? I don't know. See, listen, I watch porn. Don't get me wrong. I'm not one of these guys who can fire off names of actors and actresses.
No, anybody living or dead. Like, you can pick anybody from mainstream, like Hollywood or anything you want.
I would say I would take anyone I want to have in this porn movie.
Anyone.
All right, I would have Denise Richards in it. I would have Emily Ratajkowski in it. I would have Rosario Dawson in it, and it would be starring me.
And starring you. Okay, all right.
That way we can check 3 main boxes off my list, and make it help with film in the process.
Okay, now what kind of plot would it have? Would you be the cable guy, the pizza delivery man, or like the kid in detention? What would it be?
It would be me just playing PlayStation and fucking all 3 of these chicks. That's pretty much what it would be.
All right. That's legit. All right, now here we.
Actually, after the batting cages, they come over and they take care of me while playing PlayStation. That'd be kind of funny too.
While playing PlayStation, right on. What games you playing on the PlayStation in the middle of your porno?
Far Cry 5. That'd be funny to play. But not funny, but yeah, Far Cry 5 I'm playing right now. So why the hell not? We'll make it that. But actually, that'd be even funny and corny. Leisure Suit Larry, if you remember that.
Hell yeah, Leisure Suit Larry was a pimp. No, he was. Yeah, nobody understood how awesome he was.
Yeah, man, that was a whack one, right?
Oh, when that one came out, like it was controversy like to the max, and yet the games we have nowadays like just make Leisure Suit Larry seem quite okay. It's hilarious. I couldn't believe everybody made a big stink over Leisure Suit Larry.
Right on.
Yep. All right. So your zombie apocalypse team for the end of times. Who's on your zombie apocalypse team?
I hate these zombie apocalypse questions. I think the zombie apocalypse is a bunch of horse shit, and people just love to talk about nothing with that. There's never going to be a zombie apocalypse, everyone. Calm the fuck down. No one cares.
Okay. There went my composure. I was trying to be professional as shit. It's gone. Oh, okay. All right. And then let's see. We'll go ahead and finish up. What's one of the most embarrassing moments you've ever had that, like, if you feel like sharing one?
Most embarrassing moment I ever. Oh my god. Oh, so many. Ask me another question on why I think of one for this, because there's just so many ones that have happened.
So many of them. Okay, right on. A lot of people usually keep it at 2 or 3, but I mean, it depends. If you've had a very experienced life, I can see where you might have had some embarrassing moments. That's definitely true and everything. All right. Oh, let's see. And we're on the off the wall questions. That's for sure. What's your opinion on food in a can, namely meat? Like, how do you feel about Spam?
I ate Spam when I was in Hawaii, and now that I've checked that box, I never have to do it again.
Never have to do it again. Okay.
No one with any kind of class and taste and standard should ever eat meat in a can.
All right.
Unless it's a metaphor for geek sex, which I don't understand. But go ahead, if that's your forte, by all means.
This is probably one of the funniest interviews I've done. All right. What's a okay? You've got a terminal illness. You've got limited time to live. What's on the bucket list before you check out and go into the great beyond?
That's important that you asked about me That's on my list right there.
That's okay. You don't want to.
Fuck. God, I've done a lot of great shit. What else do I want to do? How much time do I have to live? Is it a day, you said?
Yeah, 1 to 3 days. You whatever you can get through. Yeah, yeah.
Oh shit! I'm gonna end my life in Vegas. That's where I go every year. I love it. I'll end my life there. Well, I should have said the last night with my wife and kid, but 2 nights in Vegas, last with my wife and kid.
All right, right on.
Doing dumb shit, and then away I go.
Okay. Well, at least you prioritize with your future little league dad self. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. All right. Did you think of anything embarrassing yet?
So many embarrassing ones in my life. Instead of insulting like Johnny, stupid story like I fucking shit myself. That's corny. I mean, everyone's done that.
Yeah.
No, I honestly, I'd have to go back and think about it. I could give you one, but right now, nothing is just off the mind. Sorry to sound like I'm copping out, but.
Dude, it's totally okay. No, it's totally okay. You're allowed not to answer questions or not to have a response thought out. Like, it's totally fine. That's the purpose of being an all-organic interview with some weird questions being thrown at you. Yeah.
Right.
All right. And if you ever go to prison, what kind of crime would it be? What kind of crime would it be? Would you commit to end up in prison?
No, white collar, for Christ's sake. Look at me, blonde hair, blue eyes. You think I'm going out there and shooting, robbing banks and shit? No, it's going to be for some white collar crimes, shit.
All right. So some embezzlement, some fraud.
Yeah, money laundering, siphoning funds, bribery, something like that.
All right. Fictitious hedge funds. I got you. Sounds good. Right on. All right. And the last question for this entire interview, because we are called Death by Cheeseburger. What's your favorite type of burger out there?
I love In-N-Out. I don't know if you have an Indiana. I know that.
Yeah, but I've been in and out.
Their burgers are amazing.
You get it animal style?
Sure. Yeah, and of course, animal style with bacon. It's delightful.
Right on, right on. All right. Well, that pretty much concludes our overall interview and everything. Is there anything you want to add or you feel that I should have asked or anything like that, besides the fact that I mispronounced your last name? It's only because of my inner hillbilly. I promise you it's not a direct insult to you or anything like that. It was...
No, man, it's cool. It's wonderful. No, we're good. We got everything out there. Comics, Bunch of Comics, seasons 1 through 5 on Amazon. Give it a looky-loo.
All righty.
And KevinGoatee.com for all my dates, which I need to update my calendar, let's be honest.
Okay, fair enough. And if you think of anything in the meantime before I air this, probably next weekend or anything like that, feel free to send me any notes you may have or anything else in regards to how you want me to go ahead and talk about you. And we'll go ahead and try to make it work, okay?
Sounds good, man. Good talk. Thanks again.
All right. Thanks, Kevin. You take care of yourself.
You too. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.